seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
If you were to personally meet a non-human intelligent being, what's the first question you would ask them about Earth or our species?
Who says I haven't?
What's up, humans? I want to talk about the age of disclosure spoilers.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human.
Do you feel the world is ready?
The world is absolutely ready.
We're always ready for the truth.
I hope so.
I spent 25 years as a senior official with the CIA.
I worked on highly classified UAP programs.
28 years as an astrophysicist.
I served as the 4th Director of National Intelligence.
Director of Aviation Security in the National Security Council.
The 1-star admiral after 32 years of service.
People that come forward with this, I feel like they've taken their life in their own hands.
What kind of impact do you hope this film will have on future discussions about government secrets and the unknown?
I think this is a big breakthrough because individually, lots of us behind the scenes have thought, well, there should be more transparency in this. But, you know, an individual person coming out by themselves, it's really tough. So the brilliance of Dan Farah was he very carefully behind the scenes went around and lined up 34 people and said, look, if you all come out at once, then we can make a statement.
Once senior officials started leaning into that, it kind of spread like wildfire amongst those who are in the inner circle on this within our government, and they started to realize this is a unique opportunity to bring the truth out.
I think it gave them an opportunity to tell their side of the story, and they had absolutely nothing to gain but public humiliation. I mean, myself, I've lost contributors, and they use this against me in campaigns, but over half the country, the latest polls, it was in 55 or 56% believe that we're not alone.
We learned that the U.S. government was involved in a long-running secret war with other nations to collect and reverse engineer vehicles not made by humans.
So as far as unlocking technology of non-human origin, what's the first thing you'd want to see us achieve? Limitless energy, space travel?
Right. Well, there's so many things that we could tap into, right? And we always have to be careful, too, because the weaponization of those technologies, right? We can bring it to the world, and we can say have that endless energy, it can have all of those things. Clean energy, right? But who's going to take that and what are they going to do with it?
Obviously good, right? I think that everybody wants to see whatever technology is out there available or whatever we can develop. We want to make sure that, one, it protects Americans, and two, is able to protect the U.S. and its interests overseas, including our allies.
What else might happen? The spin-offs, maybe biomedical advances that'll help prolong our life and well-being. You can name it. Agriculture and food security.
The world's our oyster at that point, right? So, I mean, I think ultimately it would be the most amazing thing for us to understand that the stars weren't as far away from us as we thought they were.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
It's rotating. There's a whole fleet of them.
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
If you were to ask one a question about Earth or our species, what would you want to know? Because there's never been
I would want to know what's your purpose for interacting and showing yourselves.
How long have you been in Congress?
If you were to personally meet a non-human intelligent being, what's the first question you would ask them about Earth or our species?
Who says I haven't?
This is so secret. Very, very few people in our entire government have been allowed access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
You better be careful about a government that doesn't trust its people, because there's no telling what they'll pull on you.
So you guys can check it out. I'm going to share the screen now. I'm going to be reading from this tweet from Jiki Nut. And he says, I got to see Age of Disclosure at South by Southwest tonight. This sucker was dense with information and similar to the program. covered a lot of the recent happenings. It was impactful to hear a similar message from so many in this film. A great primer for normies as well. Spoiler alert, I'm going to hit you with some things that stuck out to me that were new or interesting. Number one, irrefutable evidence, including video, exists. It was just a claim. Nobody showed anything on the documentary. Jay Stratton and Lou Elizondo tell their story in a way that came off as scripted, or at least meticulously laid out. This is normal for a documentary and for filmmakers. Although I want to see the tropes they used and all that stuff, just to see how scripted it was. But it's pretty normal, standard procedure for filmmakers. Hall would have confirmed he worked with other scientists in the legacy program we don't know about. That's interesting. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin was briefed on the crash retrieval program to anticipate the economic impact if Trump were to hold a disclosure press conference. The CIA's Science and Technology Division runs the CR program with more knowledge than the politically appointed CIA director. This goes back to the creation of the CIA months after Roswell by Truman in 1947. Hal articulated details on how the crash retrieval program works. The Department of Energy is outside of the normal classification system, which is why we've been able to keep it secret. Hal says there are multiple species. Russia recovered an 80-foot Tic Tac with humanoid bodies and a directed energy weapon. This is pretty interesting. Man, I want to see where they got that information from. The next 3 or 4 are very interesting. So listen. President George H. Bush told Eric Davis details of several crash retrievals since the 40s and the meeting with beings at Holloman Air Force Base. The Holloman Air Force Base incident is an interesting one. There's supposed to be video of these beings getting out of the craft and allegedly interacting with people from that base. I don't know if the video is real or not, but that's the story. That's how it goes. There's supposed to be video. Can't wait to see what details they talk about here. The Vatican knows the truth about NHI and covered it up. I'm not surprised by that if that's the case. We know that there's people investigating the Magenta crash from 1933, and there's a lot of lore surrounding that. Even the Nazi Die Glocke bell is mentioned related to this. We don't know exactly what the Vatican knows. They do have a library in there that has a lot of information that is not known to the public. And, well, I don't know if they would come clean at all. If disclosure came, I think they would have to come clean on some things. Maybe not everything, but I think they would. The UFO incident in Stephenville, Texas involved President W's ranch, meaning Bush Jr., and the CIA showed up and denied Jay Stratton access. The Secretary of State Rubio spoke on how defense contractors claim UAP tech as their own. This is something that Ross Coulthart had already talked about on his show. Ross seemed to take a stance on the side of these companies like Lockheed, Boeing, and Northrop Grumman and General Dynamics, who allegedly have had these materials and worked on them and potentially even produced technology with them. People who defend this say that it's their intellectual property and they're well within their rights to protect that. And maybe that is the case, but they use technology from these retrievals in order to create that technology. So I see where the conundrum is there. It's going to be difficult to make it better. You know, like there's a lot of different points involved. There's even illegalities that may or may not have been committed. So that one is going to be one of the most difficult to figure out. Putoff and Davis talk about propulsion bubbles and photos that show their effects. UFO pictures are fuzzy due to this. How convenient. 0-point energy and energy derived from quantum entanglement is real, according to Eric Davis. Yeah, this is a big claim. Main point of contention with 0-point energy here. To people within the mainstream scientific community, it's crackpot theory. There's a lot of people within the UFO community that talk about this being real. I still don't know if we have been able to use this in order to create new propulsion or understand the world or transport to other planets. What I do know is that I've been studying Dr. Jacobo Greenberg's work, and this is essentially what he talks about when he tried to do the transfer potential experiment and tried to prove that ESP and telepathy and quantum entanglement between minds is real. We know what happened. He disappeared. This is essentially the same thing, but they're applying it to the nuts and bolts aspect. But if this zero point energy exists, I would say it connects everything throughout the universe. I would say so. So this is a major claim, but it's so difficult to prove because we're talking about stuff that is non-tangible that I don't know if that's going to take long, but I want to see what Dr. David said exactly. So can't wait. The risk of letting this technology out is a big part of the secrecy. So yeah, here's where we arrive at another case of splitting the atom, which happened in 1945 with the Trinity test. You guys remember that one? Yeah. So when that happened, science and physics was never the same. And the level of impact that it had, we still see it to this day. Governments in the world fight over technology. We've been in an arms race for the longest time. He or she who holds the bomb is the world's superpower. Right now, it's the US and then Russia, the ones that have the most of those. But you can already imagine if some type of new technology that is weaponizable would like enter the mainstream. If it is destructive in any way, or it can be figured out to destroy in any way, I can see why this would be like kept from the public, because there's a lot of psychos out there, you know, and there are a lot. So I get this completely. Jay says intense information, quote unquote, shouldn't be revealed, and it didn't seem like he meant technology. Pretty much an admission that reverse engineered UAP exists from put off. This is a big one because he's now basically saying that ARVs are real from Dr. Hal Puthoff. We know that Dr. Eric Davis, when he spoke to Gerb on American Alchemy and to Missile Man, we know that he denied that they were real. Now, it seems like Dr. Hal Puthoff is saying they are. So, which is it? A group of 27 threatened to kill Lou and Grush. Who are these 27? Are these 27 people? Is the group named the Group of 27? This was a little bit vague, but I guess we'll see in the movie what happens. Then Puthoff had a hopeful message that we may go to the stars. Man, this is really weird because I think that humanity, in order to go to the stars, they need to develop a certain type of communion with others and behavioral psychology that I just don't see right now in the bulk of the population. We're very territorial. We're like very tribalistic. We're very primitive in many ways. So, man, I wish everybody thought like Dr. Puthoff, who seems like a decent man. But the reality is that majority of people are not like that. So I think that we need to evolve first here and then think about leaving this place. And if we can't, tough shit. That's just the way I feel. I'm sorry. Lou's message that you'll say, I wish I would have known sooner, was ominous. I don't know what this means. What does this mean? Man,